Hi guys, welcome back to our channel. It's Yvonne from Ginger Chick Rehab. I am so glad to have you back and checking out what we are up to. In today's video, I am bringing you a store found item makeover. Now I like to do a Dollar General or I like to do a Target spot. Or actually I'm just looking at items out in stores that are a reasonable price that I can make over and resell. So yeah, so we got Dollar General has great things, Dollar Tree has great things, Target Dollar Spot has great things, and Walmart has a great thing. So today's video is kind of a collab of all those stores, and for some fun I threw some Hobby Lobby clearance items in here. So let me show you what we got to make over. So right off the bat, I found a couple more of these little stools, these little round stools for $5 at Dollar General. Love to make these over. The round shape, just this cute little shape, sells really well. So you can do like a plant stand, a riser, or just some cute little decorative. Now for the Target Dollar Spot, I showed this in a thrift haul. I only ran across one of these bread boxes, but as you get up closer, it's just not a good finish and just a great storage piece. So I've done metal pieces before, so I'm super excited to make this over. Yeah, only a loaf of bread would fit in here, so I would probably do a little bit more of your general storage. And then also at the Target Dollar Spot, they had these cute little 2 shelf trays. I can see some feet on these. I can see these sanding them. The edges are really rough. This is good, but this is all rough, and if you got any water on that, it would just get water damage really fast. So love to make items like this over. For me, this is like a hobby piece. It's almost there, but it just needs a little bit more. Now when it comes to the Hobby Lobby clearance, I didn't really find much in the Christmas. It was already very much picked over, but I did find this little flip sign. Now I found some of these flip signs at the Dollar General that said open, close, wash your hands, brush your teeth, let's stay in, let's go out, and they sold really well. So for $2.99, I'm going to make these. I got 2 of these, so I'm going to make these over. So will it be easy? I hope so. And then what I found from Walmart was these set of 4 little wooden, I'm gonna make them into coasters. There's a technique that I've been wanting to try, so I thought these were perfect. And I think they were like $1 a piece. So not too bad. I resell a set of coasters in my booth for 10 bucks, so worth the makeover. And then the Dollar Tree makeover will be these little palette pieces. Oh my gosh, I'm super excited by these because I've seen a lot of people find them, and this was the first time I went into a Dollar Tree and I found some. So I'm super excited, and I'm going to be making these into a set of coasters also. So especially since I do a lot of painted furniture, a lot of white furniture, I like to sell coasters because I like to protect the furniture that you're buying from me.
So let's start off with these 2 little tray shelves. So I need to take them apart first to get the best finish on them. I'd already removed the price tags off the bottom, so I just need to unscrew these. And I highly suggest putting your little screws in something like I have a little Dixie cup going on. I actually have picked up 4 of these. To give this wood a little bit more wood-like, I'm going to go in with antiquing wax and just darken it up a bit. Now that antiquing wax is dry, I'm going to go ahead and seal these in using some polycrylic, and I'm actually going to give them 2 coats because that first coat, because these were so dry, soaked right in. After that polycrylic is dry, we're going to go with some fine grit steel wool. That polycrylic will raise that wood just a little bit. It'll leave a little bit of texture, and I want them to feel nice and smooth, so just sanding them a little bit with some fine grit steel wool will make them nice and smooth. Now we can just get these reattached. Now I went ahead and dug in my stash to look for little feet to put on these. I'm going to be spraying them up with some black onyx ready to use spray paint right off the shelf from Walmart. And yes, I have enough feet for all the 4 ones that I haven't picked up. And I have to really stand back so I'm not blowing these over. And after that black paint is dry, we'll seal them in with using some Polycrylic. That'll definitely help them in case they get wet. That'll protect that wood. Now, just the way that this tray is made, there's not really anywhere to put a screw or a nail or anything like that, and the one that I picked out are hollow. So I'm just going in with some Titebond glue and some CA glue. Now, the Titebond is going to be a nice strong, it's going to really grab on, and then the CA glue, the Starbond glue, is going to dry quicker. So it almost like a clamp there, so that I can let these sit off to the side and I will have a really good glue job without worrying about these feet coming off. Now next up is these Dollar General cute little stools. Now this has to be at least the 3rd time that I have done these. So the fun of doing multiple items like this is that you get to create something new each time. Now these have some heavy marks on the top that are raised, they're bumpy, they will definitely show through if you want them to, but I do not. So I'm going to go in with some 220 sandpaper and sand these smooth. And now that they're all sanded smooth, I'm going to get them cleaned off with some Superclean and some hot water to get a good prepped surface for painting. I want to give these a little bit different of a distressing. So what I'm doing here is I have just a votive candle removed from its little tin, and I am just wiping around all the corners of this little stool along with a little bit of the top. So now I'm going to go in with this agave chalk paint, and if I slaughtered it, somebody will tell me, but this is going to be my middle paint color for this on the distressing. Now that this agave, we're going for that, is dry, I'm going to go ahead and with that candle wax again and going on all those edges because I wanted to be able to see this color too when I distress it. For my top color, I'm using my Kills paint and primer, and then as you see in our sprayer. Okay, reveal time. Now, I did not heavily put a ton of that wax on. I'm not an overly distressed type of person, but I definitely do love seeing those 3 colors play on each other. So I'm just taking some 220 sandpaper. I know that I'm going to have to throw this piece of sandpaper away afterwards because all that wax is going to be on there, but I'm super excited to see that 3rd color. If you liked them as is, you could leave them alone, but I want to do a transfer on there. So I'm going to Graphics Fairy. If you've not checked out Graphics Fairy, she has lots of free prints that are also in regular form that you can print out or reverse. So I am going to be using the reverse form to make a transfer for these little stools. Now after doing a save as, when I'm on her site, I save as, it goes into my downloads, and then for my downloads, I click on it and it goes into a page, but I need to size it appropriate, so then I put it in my Excel program so that way I can make it the size that I want to be. I just printed these out in the reverse form just on plain copier paper, and all I have is just an inkjet printer. Go ahead and cut off most of that excess paper. So now we're going to be using some Mod Podge, and all I'm going to do is just put Mod Podge on the top, put that copier paper reverse where the ink is on top of the Mod Podge, and then rub it on, make sure that it's good and adhered, and then sit it off to the side and let it dry overnight. And then the next day I'm just going to take a wet wipe, some water, dip it in, and then just get that paper wet. And you can see how that ink is showing through, but now I have to rub the paper off. I just take my hand in a circular motion and start rubbing the paper off. Now I only have an inkjet printer, so I will get a little bit of bleeding. As you can see, you'll see some black showing through, but don't stress. I think the laser printer might not move as much as what my inkjet, but it's okay. I don't mind that it's faded just a little bit. Anywhere that my ink has smeared, especially around the edges or on the lettering, I just go back in with my fingertip and clean that up. So I think it looks pretty good. Now after that image is completely dry, I'm going to go in and seal it in with some polycrylic. After the polycrylic is dry, I'm going to go back in with some fine grit steel wool, just make sure that the top is completely smooth, and finish it up with a little bit of Varathane natural wax in the clear. Next up are these flip signs, and I cannot remove them. They're in there, so I'm going to have to work around that metal, but I think I can do it. So go ahead and take off all the tags and get these cleaned up. As you see a trend here, we're going to start these off with a black undercoat. And when that black is dry, when it's not shiny anymore, I'm going to seal it in with some polycrylic. Now for these flip signs, I cannot go in with the sprayer. I don't want to paint them all, and I don't want to take the time to tape them off either. So I'm just going to go in and hand paint them side by side. It's going to take 2-3 coats to get this on with a brush. I'm using a smaller brush just for more control so I don't get it on that metal. After my 6 coats of paint are dry, 3 on each side, I'm going to go in and sand it, making sure that my surface is nice and smooth, eliminating any of those brush strokes. Now I'm using my Cricut, and I picked out a general font, and then I found this image on the Design Studio, so I went in and got rid of the top of that, cut that out. I didn't want that, but after I typed out my wording, I need to weld the 2 pieces together so that it will all cut out. Now I need to do some weeding for my vinyl and find my image. When it comes to cutting out my image for my vinyl, I like to cut it as close as I can, just leaving a little bit of lip. That just helps me when I go to transfer it, be able to center it a little bit better. Now that I have both pieces of vinyl transferred onto both sides, I'm going to go in with some Apple Barrel multi-use black paint. I'm going to use a sponge dabber. I want my image to be nice and dark, so I'm just going where you just put a little bit of paint on that sponge dabber, just the nice tapping motion. Don't have a lot of paint. I can go over multiple times to darken it up as needed. And I'll use a blow dryer in between coats to make sure that it's good and dry before moving on to another coat. If you go on to another coat when it's still slightly wet, all you'll be doing is lifting the paint off. Now that I've got those 2 coats of paint on, I think it is as dark as I want it to be. I'm going to use the assistance of the blow dryer to help release that sticky, that way that I'm not accidentally pulling off that white paint. And these will get sealed in with polycrylic also. Next up are the coasters. So I'm going to start off with these Dollar Tree little, they're so cute, these little palette, which is really funny since my husband works for a palette company, these little bitty palettes. So I was doing the exact same paint job that I had done previously, so I thought, oh, let's just quietly play some music and show you the paint process for these little guys. So just going to go in and sand them, making sure that they're nice and smooth, and just distressing the edges just a little bit. Now I have these Walmart wood pieces, but I would like to darken them up a bit, so I'm just going to go in with some Waverly antiquing wax and just darken them up. So this is really dry wood, it's going to soak it right in, so after I apply it, I let it sit for just a wee bit, and then I take a wet wipe and wipe some of it off. Oh, but I like how that Waverly wax brought out the graining in this wood. I thought it would be fun to add some wording to these coasters, so yep, I just went to my Cricut, I just did that general font that you could read easily and just made up 8 different words about drinking. Now I did actually want to try that reverse image, but I don't know how to text on my Mac in my Excel program to reverse or mirror an image on wording anyway. So if you all know that, please let me know, because I did a lot of searching for something that should not have taken me this much time. So I just ended up cutting them out on my Cricut. So yep, sometimes you just go to your old faithful. So yep, I'm just going to center these at the bottom, just transferring with transfer tape. I just thought this would make some fun coasters. Came to the coasters though, one coat of polycrylic will not be enough. I want to make sure that these are good and protected. So on the white little palette ones, I'll do a couple coats, letting it dry in between, sanding it, making sure it's smooth, and putting a final coat. But on the wood pieces, it actually took about 5 coats. I did 4. It really soaked in the polycrylic, and then I sanded to make sure that it was smooth, and 1 finished coat. Final project is this little bread from the dollar spot at Target. Now I washed it up with hot water, Dawn dish soap, let it completely dry. When it comes to metals, especially something that has a lid like this, I definitely like to take my time. So made sure that it was good and dry. Now I'm going to protect that inside. The inside's in great shape, so I'm just going to masking tape it off. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to spray paint this black using the Farm Implements Rust-Oleum spray paint. Now, as you saw previously, that this just had a lot of scratches on the front of it, so I'm going to go in with a nice coat. But when it comes to spray paint, don't try to put heavy coats on. You do not want drips and runs. It's better to put multiple coats on that are thin to get it to cover than it is to put so much that it's a runny mess. When it comes to lidded items like this, like a bread box or anything that is metal, I wait completely overnight, let that black dry before moving on to my Kills paint primer and my sprayer. And when it came to my second coat of white paint, I let it sit overnight, letting it dry, because on metals, there's nothing, it's not soaking into the object itself, it's just soaking into the underlayer of paint. Now finally, after getting it achieved to the many layers of paint that I needed, because of course I had to flip it over, wait another day, and then now I had to wait another day to do the polycrylic. This is just what I want when somebody buys something out of my booth, for the paint to last as best as it can. So just letting it cure, letting it dry, just to achieve that is well worth my time. After removing that tape, there's always that hard crusty edge where the paint has kind of built up. So I'm just taking some sandpaper, some 220 sandpaper, and just gingerly going in and sanding any of that nice and smooth, and then cleaning up that lip if I need to. Not going to be putting the word bread back on here. I'm just going to be putting the word storage, because I don't know about you all, but I don't think my loaves of bread would fit into that, but super cute though. So I'm just using this simple script. So it's kind of the same process as what was on the flip side. I go ahead and I cut it out with my Cricut. I weed out the vinyl, and then I cut that image, that wording, as close as I can, so that way when I go to center it, I really can keep it level. Especially knowing that I was going to be putting vinyl on the spread box, that was where it was very important for me to let each one of those coats dry. I'm always working on something else, so it's not really a big deal in our workshop. But yes, so that way when I'm going to put this on metal items that has layers of paint on it, that when I go to pull off my vinyl, it's not taking the paint with it. And the 2 pieces of masking tape was so when I got it onto my transfer tape, I knew where my center point was, where I needed to center it. But then I will gingerly remove the masking tape from underneath because of the swirliness. I don't want it to interfere when I'm putting my paint on. So now I'm just going to rub this on, make sure that it is good and on there, tape around the outer edges before moving on to my paint. Was anybody watching, holding their breath while I was removing that vinyl? I always do, especially when it comes to metal, hoping that I've got my paint good and cured before doing this process. After misting a polycrylic on the freshly painted wording on the front of this box, then I'll go around the lip of this box with just some of the Varathane finishing wax to make sure that it has that nice glide, that when the box gets closed, that it's not taking that metal on metal is not rubbing together, taking that paint off.
So I hope that you enjoyed my store makeovers. It was super fun. Yeah, I haven't found a store that I can buy a whole bunch of things at. So odds and ends that I see as hobby pieces to share with you, my vision. And I feel as if I can charge enough to resell them, I will share with you here on our channel. So thanks for watching today's video, guys. And as always, give me a comment of which one was your favorite one. And if you've run across these, or you might spy them and you might give them a try yourself to flip them. So thanks again for watching today's video, guys. As always, if you are part of our YouTube family, thank you so much. And if you're new and checking out our content for the first time and you liked what you saw, please hit that subscription button along with the notification bell so you know when we've uploaded a new video. And we will see you next time, guys, and you can see what we're up to. Bye.